Welcome to today's episode of the show, and I've got to say, this one is going to blow your mind. My guest today is Tyler, a civil engineer turned real estate and glamping developer who somehow managed to turn raw land into thriving, multi-dimensional campgrounds, and all without losing too much sleep. Although honestly, I don't know where he finds the time to sleep. Tyler recently told me he's added 40 new RV sites to Broad River Campground. That's now 56 RV sites in total, with 5 glamping domes, 10 cabins, 5 tent sites, plus a clubhouse, pool and splash pad. It's an extraordinary operation that's grown at lightning speed. But what's really caught my attention, and what we're diving into today, is how he's done it financially. Because behind the scenes of all those domes, cabins and RV sites is a smart, strategic use of other people's money, specifically through something called seller financing. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of that and how you might be able to use it to build your own dream project, I wanted Tyler to share where it all began for him. From engineering to real estate, from apartments to glamping, and from traditional financing to truly creative deal making. Tyler walks us through it all in this episode. So grab a coffee, settle in. This one is going to be one of those stories that's going to leave you thinking bigger about what's possible, even when you don't have all the cash in the bank. Welcome to the Glamping Americas podcast, the place for inspiration about the business of upscale camping, glamping, and luxury outdoor guest accommodations. I'm Sarah Riley from the Glamping Academy, and I'm working with my friends at the Glamping Show Americas to share everything you need to know about new trends, events, business models, and investment potential in the rapidly growing world of luxury camping that delivers an experience. Interest in this industry is exploding, so if you want to be the first to find out what's hot and what's not, subscribe here and check out the show notes for more exciting news and links. And be sure to add the next Glamping Show Americas to your calendar for the 29th and 30th of September 2026 near Denver, Colorado. See you there. Tyler, it's so amazing that you've joined me today because you gave me a little bit of an update and you said you've added 40, as in 40, more RV sites to Broad River Campground, which likely puts you up to being fully built out. The park is doing great, and I just cannot quite believe how much you've built up over such a short time. And today, I'm really hoping that we can talk about one of your sites, particularly around how you've been really creative with the financing and you've been focusing on and utilizing seller financing. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's just talk about where you are in the world. Give it somebody who doesn't know you a bit of a summary of what you do and where you are and what you offer your customers.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to give you a quick 2-minute resume. So started in real estate, actually take it back 5 years. Got a civil engineering degree, thought I was going to be a great civil engineer and go take over the world. Did that for about 7 years and absolutely hated it. Got bit by the real estate bug and joined up with a small investment group. And in 2017, I went full-time into real estate. I'd always kind of tinkered with it on the side, some small single-family homes, duplexes, stuff of that nature. And I really wanted to scale. So teamed up with a group and we decided to focus on apartments. That was the history of the group. And I kind of came in as the energy guy, I guess, so to speak. And so from 2017, 2020, we really grew. We purchased multiple real estate assets, and we are value add guys where we go in and purchase an asset, create value, stabilize the asset, take it out to refinance, and then rinse and repeat. 2020 hit, interest rates dropped, which was great, but prices soared, which was not great. The cap rates in the market just nationwide were compressed, and we could not compete. Well, value add basically disappeared overnight. So I don't sleep much, and my part of my job is to grow the group from a development standpoint. And so I stumbled across RV parks, just riding around one day. I seen this little hole-in-the-wall RV park, and I was like, what is the story on this? So I called and said, hey, I'm Tyler. I'm looking for an RV park to rent. What's the prices? Tell me the details. And a light bulb literally went off when the guy was talking to me. And I mean, I'm comparing everything in my head, and the price they were charging per site was equivalent to some of the prices we were charging for some of our apartments. And then I thought, this can't be true, because you're renting dirt, you're renting a hookup site. You're not having to worry about windows getting broken. You're not having to worry about roaches in an apartment. You're not having to worry about a plumbing fixture. And so started digging, pitched it to the group. I've got a very supportive group, and they said, let's research the market and let's see what is to come. So we spent about a year doing that, visiting other parks, going to conferences, talking with other operators. And in 2021, we closed on 80 acres of raw hunting land, vacant land, and spent about a year and a half roughly. We had some other projects we were wrapping up, but spent roughly about a year building out Broad River Campground for phase one. And then July 1st of 2022, we opened Broad River Campground with just 16 RV sites, 10 cabins, and 5 domes. No clubhouse, no pool, no additional 40 RV sites, no gym mine, no playground set. Matter of fact, one of our cabins was our office. That was phase one opening for us, and we were so excited. We were fully booked, and it was crazy. I lost 30 pounds that month. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. Very stressed because, I had a group of investors behind me that believed in me, and sometimes I was questioning my own belief. So it turned out amazing. We had an amazing turnout, and it was just, honestly, it was like, if I could compare it to anything, it's like an 8-year-old walking into Magic Kingdom at Disney World. Like I was that guy just walking around smiling from ear to ear, just seeing people come and hearing their stories. So that's the quick and short of it. And obviously since then, we have grown that particular park and picked up a couple others and built some more, which we can get in the details of.
So when you say you had apartments, an apartment business, I mean, this was no small thing. I mean, there's 300 apartments, is that right? As well
We're up
as
to
some of
about
the other.
300 units now through about 12 different real estate companies, yes, scattered up and down the East Coast.
Wow. And so where is the majority of your business now based?
I would say the Southeast, the Carolinas.
Right. So what have you learned from having gone from where you were, which was apartments, which was real estate, to now moving across? Is this something that you're really pleased you did it overall? It's been a bit of a journey, but are you fully fixed into RVs and this kind of thing now?
So we still do both very much actively. We are still picking up apartment complexes as I speak, and we are running in multiple directions with that. So we do have a handle on the RV industry, glamping industry. It was a new undertaking for us, which that's what we do. We love a challenge. We've done apartments collectively with the group probably 30 plus years. Obviously, I've got the 10-year track record, but if you bring everybody's experience in. So we know apartments. We know how to underwrite them. We know how to finance them. We know how to run them. We know how to operate them. And we still actively do that. And our focus or core market is student housing. We have some just normal, what I call apartment complexes and just normal towns and stuff of that nature. But most of our product is student housing, which we know and operate. The RV side of it is also, or glamping side of is also another venture, and we're growing it as well. So we're growing them in tandem and in parallel together.
So tell me a little bit about the glamping angle, because obviously that's the thing that I'm most interested in, even though I am still very interested in RV. But yes, the glamping angle, tell me what you've got there.
So kind of a funny story. When we were looking at building an RV park or campground or resort, whatever you want to call it, we either discovered or by just not being really smart people determined that we wanted to go a certain direction. When I went and looked at multiple RV parks, campgrounds, I noticed one thing. They're either all RVs, they're all glamping, and there's no one-stop shop. So I got to thinking and we got to collaborating with the group and we were like, what if we built a park that had everything, that had RV sites, that had cabins, that had glamping domes, that had tent sites? We just didn't see that. I'm not saying they don't exist. We just didn't see that area of focus. And it is a big undertaking because you're mixing multiple sectors of campers. But I gave a presentation at the glamping show, and one of the things that really stuck out to me was how many campers being RV, cabin, glampers, when you put them all in one bucket, how many are there in the United States? And the number was 80 million. And when I discovered that and looked at it, I said, why would we cut that number down? Why would we not build a park that caters to all of them? So we did exactly just that. And it was a big undertaking. It was a lot of stress, but we've been very successful with it. And kind of a funny thing with the glamping domes, I didn't know anything about the glamping show. I didn't know anything about the glamping industry. I literally just Googled, I think I called them marshmallow domes, and it Google recorrected me and said, no, these are glamping domes. And I was like, okay, glamping domes, here we go. So I just stumbled across a vendor out of Florida, called him up, told him my idea, thinking maybe Tyler's the only one that's ever done something crazy like this. Bought 5 glamping domes. They got shipped to us. We had no idea how to put them together. The first glamping dome took us a week to put together because we put it together about 100 times incorrectly. Once we learned out that it was a puzzle piece, the next 4 went very smooth. And then we obviously put our custom touch on them based off of the environment here in North Carolina. We did a little bit of insulation. We did some custom door frames. We obviously put some mini splits in them. We put our own custom North Carolina touch on them. They've been wildly successful. They're really cool. I always tell everyone, if an RV site and a cabin had a baby, this is what would happen. It would be a glamping dome. And so it's been really cool. One of the most successful stories that we've had at the campground is we get a lot of people that are RVers and are campers, right, that come, but maybe their in-laws or maybe their mom and dad or whoever don't have an RV. The greatest thing about, and we've heard this story over and over again, they can come, the grandbabies can stay in the RV, the grandparents can stay in the cabin, and everybody have a great time and experience at the campground. And then we get a lot of bucket list checkers and people that want that experience with the glamping side of it. So it's been a big success with bringing all that. The marketing side of it's been massive. Obviously, the domes and the cabins are the sexy thing of the park. It's kind of hard to advertise RV sites as being sexy, but cabins and glamping domes very much attract us to a lot of the people that's looking to come to the park. It's been a big marketing feature for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we find everywhere. And actually, one thing that we're seeing in Europe in some of the RV parks is that they are blending not just the park as RV and glamping, they're actually blending the pitch. So someone can buy time on a pitch, an RV pitch, but that also has a glamping element on it. So they also have a glamping tent, they have a hot tub, they have various other things that they can have with their RV or their camper van or whatever it is that they've got. And so it's really interesting how the market is evolving. And as you said, if people love being outside, doesn't really matter in which way they love being outside. You're offering them a service that allows them to do lots of different parts of that. And the great thing about what you do too is that someone may come along and say in their RV and they stay with you. And while they're there, they're looking over at the glamping tent and they're saying, you know what, we could just bomb over here quickly in the car, not worry about the RV, and just stay in that next time. So you're offering lots of different options that one customer might use. So you've got a lifetime customer value, which is increasing, which is, I think this is a fantastic model. And the other thing that you also mentioned there is how you're using glamping as your marketing beacon. And I like to think of this as in it's like a big light on a pole or, a great big lighthouse. And it's basically shining a light saying, look at us over here, look at us over here. And people are noticing the glamping because it's sexy, but then they also see all these other offers that you do. So that's what gets them to come along. So it's a fantastic way of using glamping to boost an existing business. And I've also been talking to you about how you've used the seller financing to boost an existing business and how that's kind of evolved with a new unit that you've taken on. So tell me a little bit about that, because it's a 12-unit park. Is that right?
That's correct. So, I learned and discovered seller financing. You hear about it on all these podcasts, but very few people kind of go into the details on it. And there's many ways to slice and dice that. So we have used that on the apartment side of the industry with, they call it seller carry, seller finance, owner financing. It's all the same terminology. So we still continue to use that. Leverage is the name of the game. Correct leverage. You got to be able to understand underwriting and be able to make sure that property can carry the debt, because sometimes you may have what I would call 2 or 3 mortgage payments, right? Depending on how you want to use the terminology, right? Call it a note, call it a mortgage payment. But most recently, I built a 12 site, nothing fancy, little RV site out kind of really off the beaten path. I had a unique opportunity presented to me and another partner, and it was a little small 30-acre tract. Mom and dad had owned it for 20 years, looking to just get rid of it. Never developed it, never did anything. Life took them in different directions. So I spoke with them. Obviously, they knew of me. I knew of them, small town community. And me and the other partner went and sat down with them and spoke to them about doing an owner finance or seller carry on the property. So just real quickly go through the numbers. It was a $150,000 purchase price for 30 acres on on a small river called the Broad River. Excuse me, the first Broad River. And I spoke to the owners and said, would you be willing to finance this to us? We would do a down payment. We did a down payment of $5,000, and we would do an interest-only loan for 5 years. And then, I have the right to pay that loan off in a year 3, 4, 5 with no interest. I'm sorry, with no prepayment penalty. And so that's exactly what we did. So we were able to acquire essentially 30 acres for $5,000. And then obviously there's a monthly payment associated with that. So we used that. And then, so we had the land, right? And I got the land zoned, I got it properly permitted and all that. So now we have a piece of property. Now we gotta build it. All right. So the next question is how do you fund the build? So in another company that I'm 100% ownership in, I have a couple of rental properties that I've had for 10 plus years. They're paid off in full. Strategically leveraged that debt over year, and finally wound up paying them off. So I was able to pull a line of credit with the bank with those. So I used the line of credit on properties that I had paid off in full, and I used that line of credit to fund the 12 sites and the development of Stagecoach Campground. So now I've got 2 mortgage payments. I got one with the owner. I've got one with the line of credit, and I'm serving as the line of credit at the bank at the moment, right? So let me take a quick step back. When we proposed this plan, we had obviously done our underwriting, and we did a capital call between me and another partner, and we forecasted how much money it would take for an interest-only loan with the owner and with my line of credit, and we put that into a checking account, and that was there for those payments. So there's no stress every month. So that's part of being able to be prepared to do things like this. So now at the moment, I'm building Stagecoach Campground. I've got 2 mortgage payments every month. Call it mortgage payments, interest-only payments, whatever. We get the park finished. We build it. We rent it, get fully leased. And then I go back and I go to a bank and I say, hey, Mr. Banker, I want to, some people call it refinance. Technically, I haven't financed the park yet with a bank. So however you want to call it, we refinanced the park. They did all their underwriting. They looked at the park. They pulled all the financials. I had to prove to them what I had spent on the development side. And, I told them my story. I said, I've got an owner finance note and I've got a line of credit that you used to fund this. And they were fine with it. I was very transparent about it. And when the dust settled, they wrote us a check that wiped out the owner finance deal, that wiped out my line of credit. When I say wiped out, paid them off in full. And then we had about $30,000 left over to put into the operating account. That's refinance proceeds. That's not income. So what I did is I condensed 2 loans now down to 1. And then the park stabilized at that point. It's able to make its mortgage payment. I refreshed my line of credit. I took out the owner finance and I said, okay, I'm full. I've only got 12 sites. There might be another opportunity here. These owners that have been, I think it took us 3 years to do the refi. These owners that I was paying every month on an interest only, they kind of got used to it. They kind of like that check coming in every month. So I literally got a check from the bank. I wrote them a check. And as I'm handing Sandy the check, I said, hey, Sandy, did you like getting that check every month at interest only? She said, I loved it, Tyler. I said, would you be interested in loaning this money that I'm about to give you? Would you be interested in loaning it back to me as a hard money loan? Because I think I might add on a few more sites at this campground because I'm full. She said, let me think about it. And I said, take your time. Well, a few days goes by. She called me. She said, I'm ready to loan you some money. And that came from the 3 years of me never missing a mortgage payment, me writing the check religiously, me communicating with her and being open-ended about everything. And she lives in the area, so she's seen that the park was thriving, and we created a trust. So now, at this point right now, she loaned me back the money I just paid her off with, and we are going to use that money to fund phase 2 of Stagecoach Campground. So now I went from 2 mortgage payments to 1. Now I'm back to 2. Now with that, you have to understand your numbers. You have to understand your underwriting, because now I've got a mortgage payment with the bank and I've got a hard money loan tied to the property as well. When I say tied to the property, understand there's no liens tied to it. So it's a hard money loan between me and Sandy, not because the bank is in first position and the bank will not allow anyone to take a secondary lien on it. Otherwise, they can call the note due. So you've got to educate yourself a little bit on the terminology and the legal aspect of it. So I have 2 loans right now, and we are going through the permitting process of actually looking at building on 6 more additional sites. Now, you say, Tyler, how are you able to afford 2 mortgage payments? Well, you got to understand your numbers. You keep your expenses low, your profit high, right? So I ran the numbers of how much money does the park bring in every month, less my expenses, and here's what I have left over. It's my NOI, my net operating income. Now I've got a mortgage payment I've got to take out. So I took that mortgage payment from the bank. Now what do I have left? And there was still enough cash flow, which is what that is, cash flow left over to be able to pay the owner financing note every month. Now, does that mean the park is heavy cash flow every month? No, it takes that cash flow model down a little bit, but I'm able to get access to money to build the park and create more value, which is where I'm trying to get at. So with that being said, I'm going to go from 12 sites to 18 sites. And the goal is in 3 years, stabilize the park during this 3-year time period, get 18 campers there. And then I'm going to go back to that same bank that I have a loan with. I got a 5-year note with them. I'm going to go back to them and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I don't have 12 sites anymore. I've got 18. So the value's increased and I want to refinance again. And so the goal is to refinance it. Okay. Wipe out the first note with the bank that I have, wipe out the hard money note with the previous landowner. And then hopefully there's some left over that we can stick in the operations account. And then we just continue to recycle that. That park will probably be fully stabilized by then. It's a small area to pull from, small different demographics. So 18 sites will probably be about all we do. But the end goal and the whole lesson here is there was very little money out of me and the other partner's pocket to take nothing and turn it into something. We leveraged multiple lenders to be able to make this park come to life. And that's the true way to be able to grow financially.
I really love the model. I've known about the model myself as well for a long time because the family business did exactly the same when we were selling a family business, and they used seller finance to buy it over a number of years. And I think that's kind of one of the first things I wanted to highlight. And also, from what you were saying, there's many different ways of doing it, and that's just one way that you did it. And with the seller finance, you can just come up with an agreement with the sellers and say, okay, how do you want this to look? What would be the repayment, and how long will this happen over what period of time? But what I've got here, I've underlined, you need to be good at understanding your numbers, which is exactly what you said. You've got to know exactly what's going on and understanding the little nuances of, what are you allowed to do, and getting that legal advice, tying it into an agreement. But one thing that has come out recently, and this is what you've absolutely hit the nail on the head with. I can't remember which generation it is. One of the generations. They've had a really busy life. They've been building businesses, and some of them are getting really tired. They don't want to be doing this anymore. They want to retire. They still want money coming in, but they don't want to be doing the heavy work because they've been doing that all their life. And we are getting to a period of time when there are a lot of people like that. And they've also got the land, the property, because they were around during a time when that was abundant and maybe they got it cheaper. And so they are looking for these deals with people to allow it to make it a bit easier for them, I suppose, to leave, but without really 100% leaving. They've still got their finger in the pie. They're still enjoying a little bit of business, which is basically their heart and soul, but they're doing it in a way that means that they're retiring a little bit. Is that how you felt it was with the person that you were buying from?
100%. I've actually got a couple different hard money loans, and they are all with people that are probably in their mid to upper 60s, have worked their whole life, and they just didn't get around to this project, or they've saved their whole life because that generation was big savers, and they've got some money laying around. And one thing they always look at, and I always talk to them about, is If you take that same dollar and you stick it into a bank or a CD, a savings account, what interest rate are you going to get? And here's the interest rate you're going to get with me. Now, there has to be a trust level there. These are people that I have hard money loans with. I've known them for 10 plus years, or the partner that is in on the deal has known them for 10 plus years. There's a trust level there. For example, with Stagecoach Campground, when we did the owner finance, those two elderly people, they kept a lien on the property while we were building. So I could not use bank debt because I already had a lien on the property. So I used my line of credit to fund it. When we went and paid them off, the lien got wiped out. The bank came in and took their first lien of position, or first position of lien. And so we went in that direction. So it is very much that. There is an abundance of people out there. They're looking for high energy people. They're looking for a return. They're looking for a return. Hard money loans, just because I know probably people scratching their head right now saying, well, what interest rate do you pay, Tyler? Well, how does that look, feel, and all that? It's different with every person. I'll try to look at the bank. What is the bank paying? Sometimes banks are paying anywhere from 3 to 5%. 5 is kind of high. It's an economic cycle. Hard money loans, I've got them anywhere from 8 to 10%. And then I've heard of hard money lenders even being up to 15%. You have to understand your numbers and what kind of payment that looks like every month to see if your project, if your property can afford that. And I'll be honest with you, the better the relationship you have with somebody, the better interest rate they're going to settle with you on. And they're going to make the comparison. If I stick this, let's just say $10,000 in an account at a 5% on a CD, or I could stick it with Tyler for 8 or 9%, there's a little bit of a risk with Tyler. They may look at me a little more riskier, but I've known him for 10 years. He's a great guy. He's humble. He knows what he's doing. He's got a resume. So I use that to my advantage. I use that, and I use past stories of other hard money lenders to be able to use as references, as almost for a resume, to be able to say, hey, if you don't trust me, call this guy over here that I have a hard money loan with and I've had it with for 5 years, and ask him if I've ever missed a payment. Now, have I had hard money lenders say, nah, Tyler, I just ain't feeling it, man. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. Yes, I've had people tell me no, and I've known these people for 10 plus years. But there's one thing about me is, I always say, what's the worst somebody's going to tell you? No. Okay. Then keep asking different people and keep going. I don't need 100 yeses. I just need 1 or 2 people to tell me yes. So I've had people tell me, no, Tyler, I don't understand what you're doing now. I see you doing it. I can go drive and touch and feel and understand it. And I called the guy, but I just don't feel comfortable. And I totally understand that. It's a mind thing. But then there's other people out there that are like, dude, I trust you with my life. Here's the check. Just I'm good. And I never hear from them again. So you got to build those relationships. And that starts at the Glamping show, that starts at the Ojai show, that starts at the Carvet conference. Those type of people are there. It may start with a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or a parent, and it doesn't have to be a crazy amount of money. Start out with 10 or 20 grand and show them for a year that you know how to manage money and that you know what you're doing, and then go back to them and maybe up that. So you got to start somewhere. And it starts with just asking and explaining to them what your thoughts on it are and how you want to put it together.
Mm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Have you ever used that method of doing if I, don't manage to make my payment, this is what you'll get. So it's your penalty. It's penalty to you, but it means it gives a sense of less risk to the seller. What kind of things have you done there?
So it's a simple 1-page contract, and basically they would come after me. Basically, they would take me as a lawsuit. They would sue me. I would be in our contract. I am responsible for their attorney fees. I am responsible for my attorney fees. I'm responsible for any late fees. So there is very little risk for them. One thing I take it a little step farther is I had one guy ask me, he said, Tyler, what if you die? How do I get my money? And I'm like, that's a really good question. So I take out an insurance policy as part of the contract, and I pay for that. And it's equivalent to whatever the hard money loan is for, and they are listed as the beneficiary. So we take those necessary steps to give them that peace of mind and that insurance that if something happens to Tyler, I'm covered. And if Tyler doesn't decide to pay, not only does he have to pay my attorney fees, I get to collect late fees during all this, and I will get my money back. So, but again, no one ever wants to go down the legal side of things, and I totally understand that, but they have that option to be able to collect and do that. And the contract is very much written in their favor to be able to really hold my feet to the fire if I decided to just not pay one day.
I love that. It brings an image holding your feet to the fire. That sounds painful. So let's just be really clear here. So you're talking to people with land and a business on that land, or you're just talking about land, which you then build the business on that land?
So for Stagecoach, they own the land outright. They had no debt on it. They'd owned it for 20 years. And I sat down and explained to them how much. I asked them, how much do you want for it? They said 150,000. Understood. I will agree to that. I said, but I'm going to help you make more money off of that. If you will loan me that $150,000, not cash, but in the equivalency of land, by the end of the 5 years, you will make an 8% return on that 150 land every year. So you basically made more than that. You made more than the 150. You just had to kick the can down the road a little bit. And they like that. They're like, so I'm going to make like 100. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I don't know. It was well over $150,000 that they were actually, when the dust settled, going to sell the land for. They're just getting interest only in increments. So they really like that. And it can help you on your taxes as well. And these people were pretty tax savvy. So anytime you sell something, you have to pay your taxes on it.
Yeah.
So they were able to kind of kick the can down the road with that as well. Now that's a whole nother thing and a whole nother conversation you have to talk with your CPA about. So I deal with people on the Stagecoach. That was the land deal. I got a couple other lenders that are just people I've known for 10 plus years. They got some money laying in a bank. They look at it every day. They smile. They drink their coffee, but it ain't making them no money. So then they look at me and they see me doing this and doing that and building this and buying this and selling this. And they're like, Tyler, I don't really understand the whole real estate game, but I do understand hard money loans because they're simple. I loan money. I get a check every month. And then at the end of 3 to 5 years, which is normally where I run my hard money loans, I get the check back. I get the whole amount back, plus all the interest I made for the last 3 to 5 years. I've got a couple lenders like that who they just had cash laying around. And I've got one right now, I think he's going on 5 years. And I ask him every year, we just extended it year after year. We did a 3-year. And then I asked him, I said, what do you want to do? He said, kick it out another year. Okay. So we're actually here in a couple months and we'll have another conversation. And his story is, man, I love walking to the mailbox every day on the first of the month and seeing that check. And it's just like clockwork. And so it works out. And he's making a better return on that money than he would be if he stuck it into a CD or a bank account or a savings account. He's just not a real estate guy. He's slowing down in life. He's made his money, and so he's just looking for a check every month. And I love that, and it helps me, and it helps him. And one good thing I do about my hard money loans is they're not tied to any project or anything. They're tied to me. So, and I'm full disclosure when I speak with lenders is when you give me this money, I can put it in 10 different real estate companies. I can put it in one. You're never going to know. Matter of fact, I may forget. I may not even know because there's so many things going on. But I have full authority to use that money because now it's my money because you loaned it to me to be able to do whatever I want with. Now, with that, you have to understand that you have to pay that money back, and you have to be very disciplined to be able to understand to do that. And you have to forecast. Some people call it a pro forma. Some people call it forecasting. You have to be prepared financially to be able to pay that money back. In my position, it is crucial that when I borrow money, I execute the project quickly to be able to refinance it to pay those hard money lenders off. You have to execute. And one way of being able to not necessarily have what I call a gun to your head on it is when you do these hard money loans, it's very difficult. And I would never do a hard money loan for 12 months or even 2 years. It's got to be a minimum of 3 years because the economy does cycle. Life does happen. Things personally happen to you that may slow you down 6 months. Go ahead and build that into the original contract with these hard money lenders. If they're 12 months or the answer is no, unless you really have a unique opportunity and are really secure in what you can do, I would recommend against that because they can really hold your feet to the fire and the contract if you go over, right? So I always, try to explain to these people that I'm dealing with is I'm trying to build in fluff or fat or unforeseen things that may slow me down or slow you down. You're going to make money the whole time, but I just don't want to kill the relationship over I was behind 6 months.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was going to say while you were talking there about you've got these people who have got money and they're looking for places to maybe put it. now it's not necessarily risk-free if it goes into a bank. I mean, the unthinkable has happened many times now, and before 2008, we would never have imagined that a bank could actually go under, and then suddenly many went under, and then just recently, some have even been at risk, and who knows what's gonna be happening in the next 5 years. So people who have got a lot of money in a bank, they're now starting to think, "Where would it be better to put my money?" So people like yourself are able to help them out with that.
That's
And I
correct.
really like that, the fact that you've highlighted, firstly, you need to be really big on your cash flow. You need to know what's going on with your business to be able to predict and make sure that you're gonna be able to pay it off. And also that trust, how you've managed to focus on getting that trust generated between you and whoever it is that's lending you the money. So you talk about you identify these people who are able to enter into this business relationship with you through relationships you've had
Mhm.
previously or other businesses you've had and you've built those over time. Do you actually cold call anyone that you see, maybe the land or the business, and you think maybe this person is of a certain age, maybe they might be interested? Have you ever done that?
Absolutely. So anytime we are looking at a real estate asset, whether it's apartments, RV park, whatever, my first question to the agent or broker is seller carry an option on the table? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. With the way the economy's been the last 12 months, you've seen a spike in that. Now, the devil's in the details, right? A lot of people, when they say seller carry, then my next question is okay, what kind of terms are they looking at? Because some people with seller carry is like, well, I want 60% down payment and I'll owner finance the rest. Well, that's worse than the bank. I can get easier money and quicker money from the bank. So these owners have to understand your angle,
Mhm.
especially on a property that needs repositioning, because a bank's going to be nervous about loaning on a property that needs repositioning. Banks love stabilized assets. So if you're in the repositioning arena like I am, you've got to get creative. And getting creative with seller carry is one way. You can get creative with some banks, but usually they're not enough to cover the entire project. So that's why you'll hear me sometimes say I've got a bank note or a bank mortgage, and then I've got owner financing or a hard money lender. Owner financing and hard money lender to us is almost the same terminology, but I am intermingling those. They can be sliced and diced in different ways where the owner can still stay in a lien position in certain cases. It's very difficult to do that with a bank involved. So it's a case by case scenario. But yes, that is my number one question when I always ask is owner financing or seller carry available on the table, and or what are their terms? What are they looking at? Because you never know. And if a property's struggling to sell, sometimes the sellers will be open to it to try to get the property off their books. And if they really sit down and have a conversation with you, they'll really understand that I'm actually going to make more money off of this than I realized. But it's a trust thing. It's a harder conversation to have because these people don't know me. I
Mm.
don't know them. And then a lot of times there's a real estate agent involved, which is sometimes communicating between us,
Yeah.
which is another layer that is sometimes a struggle to break through. Quick story. One of our first projects when the group I came on with, we bought a property in Missouri, still own it to today. And we asked the agent, is seller financing available? And they said yes. And it will be in my first rodeo with it. My boss is a guru with this, my mentor and boss. We actually jumped on a plane and flew up there and met with the owner for lunch because we wanted to have a face with a name. We wanted him to understand us and trust us. And to this day, he still carries a seller financing note with us. We have a bank involved, but he has transitioned basically from an owner carry to a hard money lender for us, and he loves it. He calls us and wants to extend every year. But that $300 plane ticket showed him that we were serious and showed him that we were the real deal. So my encouragement to anyone listening to this is if someone's willing to have a conversation, ask them to go to coffee, get in front of them. Face to face conversation can never be replaced. A Zoom call doesn't do it. A phone call doesn't do it. Those are all benefits, but get in front of these people, shake their hand, let them see you, feel you, understand what you're about, and let them see the passion in your eyes because that's where the relationships truly are built.
Absolutely. I think that the time of picking up the phone to actually make an arrangement rather than just emailing is absolutely there. And then, yes, as soon as you can get your foot in the door, see them, go and see them face to face and really understand each other. I think it's a brilliant way to go. It really builds trust. One of the things I wanted to ask you as well, if you went into an area, location, you thought, wow, this is like a great location, lots of tourism here. I'm sure there must be a park or an RV or something. There's been permissions given on some of this land that maybe has not been used for a while. Maybe it's an old RV thing. Maybe have you ever done that? Have you gone to the relevant authorities and found out if a piece of land in an area has got permissions for an RV park, but is maybe no longer an RV park because the people who own it have just stopped their business and it's maybe just kind of they don't know what to do with it. And is that something that you would explore doing, identifying that land and those owners?
Absolutely. We like projects that are struggling, that have problems associated with them, whether they're financially or emotionally or whatever. We love being able to come in and be the problem solvers. And that's this park that we have under contract that we're looking at purchasing, a very small park. As a mom and dad, they'd had some health issues come on them, built a great little park, great little model. They just struggled with the marketing. They struggled with kind of just taking it all in. And so I think we can come in and clean some of that up just with our expertise and knowledge. Given their just health situation, they're just not able to focus on the property and project like it really needs. So we are 100%. That is what we love to focus on, is projects that we can bring back to life. And normally when we go into towns and I'm speaking with town planners and zoning committees, they love to see people like us, because some of these parks out there unfortunately just turned into heavy drug user places. They're ran down. There's constant police and fire and EMS medics going out there, which costs the taxpayer dollars. So when they hear someone like me come in and then I can bring a resume along with it, they're excited because they know I'm going to run it correctly. They know I'm going to, in their eyes, clean up the area, and they know it's a taxable revenue source for them as well. Obviously I'm in it to make money, but if I'm making money, the city and the counties are going to make money as well. And just the clientele of people in that particular area, it makes property values go up. There's always that argument, when you go in front of it of, oh, it's going to, make values go down. But a lot of times, well, if you have a truly good business owner that runs things correctly, it will actually increase property values because, increase just like Walmart coming to town. So very much so, we are always looking for opportunities like that, whether it's vacant land or operating businesses that are just, it could just be they've ran it for 6 years and they're tired and they just don't have the energy to do it every day, and they're wanting to offload it. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of these small ones, these mom and pops, they don't want to just sell to anybody. They want to sell to someone that's passionate, that's energetic, that's going to take that dream that they made and enhance it. There's a lot of that. They don't want to sell it to some corporate company or somebody that's going to just run it farther into the ground. They want to see it brought back to life, or maybe even brought back to where it was in the glory days. And so that's my angle when I come into them. And a lot of times I'll invite them to the parks we have. I'll take them to lunch and say, this is what we're doing. This is what I took nothing and made something. And I want to do that with your park. And let's work together on that.
Mm. I love that because even though they may be tired and they don't want to run their business anymore, doesn't mean they don't love their business or they don't love their land and they want to see it do good stuff. They want to see it in the way that they intended or maybe just ran out of steam to be able to do. So at the part where you are looking at then going back to the bank to get the loan to then pay out the seller and to then do it that way and to reduce your mortgage commitment to from 2 to 1. You have to prove at that point to the bank that you have a good business with a good cash flow. It's going to be able to pay for the loan that you're asking for. That requires marketing. So without marketing, you won't get your guests, you won't get your payments, you won't get your profits. Obviously, there's lots of other things involved as well. But essentially, if you don't get the customers, you don't have a business and you certainly can't pay off the bank. So, what are some of your ideas around boosting your marketing and getting that increase? Because that's what you're looking for, isn't it? You're looking for better occupancy, more people driving in, more customers coming in and booking a place on the land. So, how have you gone about doing that?
So the first thing is location, 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 location. Know your location. All right. know what's around your location. So before we did this other park, this Stagecoach Campground, the one that I did the very creative financing, when the opportunity came to us, we said, all right, what's the other parks around us doing? Right. And we located them, we identified them, we figured out what their rates are. And then we said, okay, if we're a little cheaper, can we survive? Or how does those numbers look? If we're at X amount of dollars per month or versus this, how does that look and how does that feel? And then once those numbers are, it's either a pass or fail, right? And then the next thing is are they full? It's one thing to charge, I don't know, $600 a month, but if you've got 20 sites and you only got 3 of them rented, something's up. You're not doing something exactly right. So the next question was, are they full? They were all full. I was like, okay, well, that's good. So then I looked at it and said, can I build a park? I'm not going to call it better, but in my mind, better, like cleaner, more organized, and be cheaper. And so I'm a general contractor. I've already built another park. I have a pretty good idea what my per site's going to cost. That was that. And I know a lot of people are probably like, well, how do I know that? Talk with mentors, talk with people, ask people, talk with contractors. I had no idea before Broad River Campground what it costed. And I learned the hard way. And I did make mistakes. So now I've kind of learned through those mistakes. So once I understood that I could build a park and be cheaper than the competition, then I move on to the next step. So what we did is we seen what these other parks had and what we could do, in my opinion, a little better. I put sodded grass on each RV site. I made each RV site a little bigger than the competition. Full hookup. And full hookup is water, power, sewer. I put Wi-Fi in at the park, which a lot of other parks around this particular one don't have that. And I took it one step farther. I actually put in a laundromat that's free to the guest staying there at the park. That's unheard of. So I did a couple little tweaks. And then when you go out to your, Facebook and do your Facebook marketing, which is pretty much what a lot of people do, people's like, wait a minute, there's laundry on site, which is unheard of kind of in that area. And then on top of that, it's free. So they really like that. And I'm very big on keeping the park clean. I'm very big on keeping it organized. Given where this location is, just in the RV park industry, we run background checks. We're very strict on background checks. People like that. It's a sense of security. I'm not just letting anyone and everyone come into the park. So when you put those layers together and put all that in a bucket, it's very attractive to people. And have we got people from other parks to come to us? Of course. Have I had some probably leave and go to another park? Sure. But for the most part, when people get settled, if you treat them with respect and you keep the park clean and you keep it organized, and when there is a problem, you address it, people generally will stay that are an extended stay RVer. So we've had very good success with that, and we want to continue to grow that model.
It's fascinating. I think it's a really great business model, as I said at the very beginning. I think it really is. You have to have multiple skills. You have to know your numbers. You have to focus on cash flow as well as setup. There are two. Some people just think about setup, but it's no, you got to think about your cash flow. What's your monthly cash flow? What's going to be coming in? When? And it's still going to be a risk as well, but you can take calculated risks. You can't do any
Correct.
business without some risk. In fact, it wouldn't be a business if it didn't have some risk. And I'm really fascinated by this whole model. I think that RVs and glamping and camping, multiple sites do really work in a lot of places. And although there's a place for everything, there's a place for just RV parks and there's a place for just glamping parks.
Correct.
But from your experience of both, what are you most excited about over the next year or so, particularly with that area where it blends RV and glamping? What are you excited about coming up?
So the glamping / RV industry is, to me, almost an untouched industry from just a competition standpoint. Apartments have always been good forever and always, and will always be that. Commercial, but it's always there. It's almost kind of an untouched industry where a lot of people don't get into it. I don't know really why. Banks are coming around with it. Banks are understanding RV parks a lot more now in glamping. There when the new terminology came up, it was the barrier to entry was kind of tough because banks are like, so I'm supposed to loan on a glamping dome? Like, what is that? So
Yeah.
it wasn't in their head a vertical house structure or
Bricks and
townhome. So
mortar, that's what they want. Yeah.
they're trying, but they're wrapping their head around. They're coming around with it. And there's just so much opportunity in this industry. There's so many RV parks that are mom and pop that have popped up throughout the years that are going to be coming available. And you got to be in the right place at the right time on some of them. You do, but you gotta knock on their door and you got to talk with them. But there's a huge opportunity there to be able to blend those models and get in and understand those things. There's a lot of it's an older industry, so those people are going to be phasing out at some point. Either their kids are going to take over, they're going to sell, they may want to continue to work with you, but it's just I love the hustle and bustle of it, and but I always tell everybody too, it's an outdoor hotel business to
Mm,
an extent,
mm,
and within the RV industry, there's multiple sectors. There's extended stay, long term. There's transient definition being overnight people, your weekend getaway people, and then there's short term stays. So there's different criteria there, and you can blend them all together. You could just go after one. I mean, I know owners out there that all they do is extended stay. That's what they love. That's what they like. They're in the location that supports that. And then I know other owners out there that they're just all transient, no long term stay. You can't stay at their park more than 7 days. It depends on the location and the market you're in. And so understand your market, understand what people around you, your competition are doing. And in the RV side of it and glamping, the competition's nothing like the apartment side. Apartment side, it's cutthroat. I mean, it's you want the guy down the road. You don't want him to make any money. You want to make all the money. But but you're tying up tenants for 12 months at a time. So it's a really cutthroat industry. Whereas the glamping RV side of it, if you're in the glamping business and there's 5 glamping parks, you're all going to share in that revenue because that person's going to go to that park and that park and that park and that park. And so it's friendly competition. When we first got into the business, everybody was open arms about coming to their park, which was a little eye-opening for me because if you own an apartment complex, you don't show the keys of the kingdom. You don't show your units to other landlords. You don't tell them your pricing model. You don't tell them your lease agreements. You don't send them any of that information. But in the glamping side of it, you do because you're sharing all the transient guests. So it allows you to educate yourself so much more to be able to understand the model and if you want to really get into it. And I've hosted people at my campground that are looking to build a glamping resort. They've came and stayed in a dome, and then they're like, hey, come down here and show us how you built the deck and show us how you did the footings and show us that stuff. And I'm like, that's fine. Yeah, go do it, because at the end of the day, it's still hard work. It's not just about building it. You still got to run it. But I'm happy to be an open book on stuff like that because I wouldn't be where I'm at if other people weren't an open book to me.
mm. I think that's lovely, and it's one of the things that I've noticed as well in the industry in the too many decades, too many to mention anyway, that I've been in it, that people are just really willing to share and boost each other in this industry, which is still very young. It's still
It is.
developing. It's still becoming something that only now is becoming a word that is mainstream, that people finally understand what it means and where it's come from. But more than that, the banks, as you said, are starting to understand it. And so now we're seeing some really good, tangible things that most other businesses have had the benefit of. And now suddenly it's coming into this industry too. So people are able to not just build a smaller business, but bigger businesses and multiple businesses like you've done. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or find out about your sites or come and stay at your glamping site, where is it best for them to go?
So we own and operate Broad River Campground located in Mooresboro, North Carolina. We have a website, broadrivercampgroundnc.com, broadrivercampgroundnc.com. You're welcome to email me anytime. My email is fairly simple, and the email's from another real estate industry, Tyler, Tyler, at studentrental.net. Tyler at studentrental.net. Happy to explore any opportunities out there. Happy to help with any questions. Happy to tell my story. We didn't do it. I don't think we made every decision right, but we made a lot of good ones. I had a very good, strong team behind me and supporting me. Had very good contractors helping me through it. And we've been pretty successful with it. It's still a new company. All of our RVs are still Broad River Campgrounds. I tell everybody, Broad River Campgrounds not writing big checks to the owners. We're a company that's 3 years old, and we're still operating and trying to grow the company. It is, the first 5 years, as you know, Sarah, the first 5 years is crucial.
Mm,
Most businesses collapse in the first 5 years honestly, it's because of bad money managing. and spending money out of a company that you shouldn't be spending when it should be going back into the company. So we are very disciplined and very strict on that. Our investors know that. And that's how the company thrives in slow months and survives, is by not sitting here bleeding it dry on, personal expenses or taking on draws when you really shouldn't be. So we do that on the apartment side and on the glamping side as well. We're very strict and organized on money management with our properties.
I will include all of your links in the show notes so that people can just have a look there and come and find you. And I know that there's going to be a lot of listeners listening to this now, and they're going to be going, Tyler, you're the man. You've just shared so much gold. That's just amazing. So on their behalf, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. And yes, if you're listening, listeners, just please put a comment into wherever you're listening to this podcast to say thank you to Tyler, because that's just amazing. Will you be going to the Glamping show next year?
Yeah, most likely I'll be going. I got a great relationship with Ruben. Spoke this year and had a great time speaking, and had a ton of follow up. So I'm always supportive of the Glamping show. I would love to continue to go there. And plus, it's in Colorado, so it's like an amazing place to go. We went to the Red Rocks Amphitheater while we were there. It was amazing. So if I can give a word of encouragement to people, educate yourself. Go to these shows. Ask questions. Don't hide under a rock. Don't be afraid to be told no. I'm from a one-stop-like town, and went and got an engineering degree, didn't even know what I wanted to do with life, got dabbled into real estate, still didn't know what I wanted to do, but just try to do something and educate yourself. And I'm telling you, the shortcut to success is a mentor. And I have a great one I've stumbled across. I've got a couple, but my boss right now serves as a great mentor, just personally for me and on the business side of the world. And just get out there and don't be afraid to be told no. I promise you, I have been told no more than I have been told yes. And that to today. And I don't look at that as a discouragement. I look at that as, okay, I know that door is closed, but maybe this one over here opened for me. So be energetic about it, be passionate about it, and educate yourself and talk with people. And that's how you learn and make those connections. That's how I made all mine. My boss, it's a funny story real quick. I knew him for 10 years in another industry before I knew it was in the real estate. And he cold called me one day and he said, hey, let's go to lunch. I was like, all right, whatever. And he got to talk to me. He said, I'm getting into real estate. And I was like, I didn't know he was into real estate. And come to find out, he was a guru, one of the largest student housing companies in the United States back in the early 2000s. And so, but he knew me for 10 years. He had seen the hustle. He had seen me not take no for an answer. He had seen the passion in me. And he's like, I want you on my team. It was almost like a test for 10 years in the engineering industry. And we've hit the ground running in 2017, and we're not planning on looking back. And we want to continue to grow. And it's funny, sometimes people are like, Tyler, you got to slow down a little bit. I'm like, man, if you ain't first, you're last, right? That's how I always look at it. So, but it's funny, we joke back and forth. But if I could give anybody encouragement, get out there, educate yourself, get in front of people, and talk to these people who went before you, because that's what I did.
Well, hopefully it won't be a 10-year test for other people. I mean, that was quite some test, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But Tyler, it's been great chatting to you today. And if anybody wants to see you in person, they can come to the Glamping show, meet you there, see you there. No doubt you'll be on stage again with the AGA or whatever. You'll certainly be around and about and easily recognized. And so thank you so much. I'll include all those links. And yeah, hope to see you very, very soon.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.